Hi, grade 7. Let's continue together. Lesson 1 in chapter 3, heredity. In last online session or in last recorded session, we talked about the priest Gregor Mendel, okay? Gregor Mendel, the priest that spent 8 years to studying the pea plant and how the traits passing from one generation to another, okay? So the priest Gregor Mendel that considered the founding father of genetics, okay? He crossed the pea plant that having contrasting traits to show how the traits pass from parent to offspring, okay? Like stem height trait, color of the flower, and color of bee seeds. In Mendel experiment, today we will explain together Mendel experiments on pea plant. Okay, pea plants are usually self-pollinating. Mendel developed the cross-pollination method to cross pea plants that had contrasting traits. Okay, like tall and short plants. He started with the purebred plants. What's meant by purebred organism is the offspring of many generations that have the same form of trait. Look at the figure in front of you. Mendel crossed tall pea plant with the dwarf or shortness pea plant, okay? And this is known as pea generation or parental. The resulting offspring are the first filial. This is known as a first filial, okay? Or F1 generation, where the word filial comes from filia or filius in Latin language means daughter and son, okay? The result surprised Mendel, okay? Mendel found in first generation all the offspring appeared in first generation were tall, and the shortness trait seemed to have disappeared, okay? And when these plants were full grown, Mendel allowed them to self-pollinate. The second filial, or the second generation that followed, surprised Mendel even more, okay? He counted the plants of the second generation and he found that. He found 3/4 were tall, while 1/4 only were short. Mendel repeated his experiments more time by studying other pea plants trait as flower color and seed shape. Okay? In all his crosses, Mendel found that only one form of the trait appeared in first generation. However, in second generation, the lost form of the trait always reappeared in about 1/4 of the plants. Okay? Mendel reached several conclusions from his experimental result. Okay? He reasoned that sets of genetic factors that responsible for inheritance of the traits in bees. Okay? And these factors that control each trait, the factors that control each trait exist in bees, where one factor received from female parent, while other factor received from male parent. Finally, one factor in bear, okay, can mask or hide the other factor if this factor is strong enough, okay? Like in case of tallness and shortness, the tallness factor in first generation masked the shortness factor, okay? Now scientists use word gene to describe the genetic factor that control a trait. So, what's the difference between gene and alleles? Gene is a portion, okay, or a small section of DNA that determines a certain trait. The function of gene, it's responsible for expression of traits, okay, and don't occur in bears, like gene of the flower color of bee plant. But alleles is a specific form of gene, okay, that's responsible for variations in which given trait can be expressed. Alleles occurred in pairs, found in pairs, okay? Example, alleles of white flower color or alleles of purple flower colors. So an organism's trait, okay, are controlled by alleles it inherits from its parents, okay? So any trait found on the organism, this trait controlled by alleles that coming from both parents, okay? Some alleles are dominant while other alleles are recessive, okay? Dominant allele means is one whose trait always shows up or expressed in the organism when one allele is present, okay? And it's known as a strong allele. While recessive allele, on other hand, is hidden whenever the dominant allele is present, okay? Because it's weak allele. In case of tallness and shortness, be plant, the dominant allele is tallness, T capital, expressed by T capital, okay? While recessive allele, okay, recessive allele is shortness trait, okay, that responsible for appearance of shortness trait, okay, and expressed by T small, okay. Inheritance of pea plant studied by Mendel. Mendel studied 7 contrasting traits on pea plant, okay, like seed shape, seed color, bud shape, pod color, flower position, okay, stem height. Seed shape, wrinkled or round. Wrinkled is recessive allele, while round is dominant allele. Yellow, seed color, dominant, while green, recessive. Bud shape, pinched, recessive, smooth, dominant, okay? Bud color, green, dominant, yellow, recessive. Flower color, purple, dominant, white, recessive. Flower position, tip of the stem, recessive, side of the stem, dominant. Stem height, tall, dominant, while short is recessive allele, okay? Thank you for your good listening, and goodbye.